NERDSoul.
Why are you a black man in love?
Passion for the shit you know.
Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Black Together, A Walk in Her Shoes. I am Lady Lisa. I'm here with my sister, cousin, partner in crime, Madam Buddaphlai. Say what's up.
Peace, love, and light, everybody.
All right, so we are actually doing a part two of two, in very short series called Higher Learning. In our first part, in case you didn't listen to it, we talked about homeschool versus public school. So go and check that out if you haven't already. And in this second half, we're going to be talking about college/university and the debt that comes with it versus trade school and entrepreneurship. So we're just kind of talking about some pros and cons, just some general ideas, personal experiences, information, and just really talking about maybe what's changed through the years in terms of, in general, what was good for us as a community and as a people. University and college versus, trade school and going out on your own, or maybe even both, right? So we're going to jump right into it. But for today, what's in our shoebox, Madam Buddaphlai?
I'm so glad that you asked. Today we have passion, and it's spelled PASHION.
Please.
Just in case anybody is wanting to look up the shoe.
Oh.
But it's a passion whiskey leather Dorsey sandal with the detachable espadrille block heel kit. Because we are talking about switching it up, changing, flipping, reversing, and changing paths. So I figured, why not have a shoe where you can swap out the heel, or just not even have a heel at all?
I just put that heel on the side and swap out when you don't want it to. That's all I'm saying.
Somebody's ankles was rolling.
Because gravity gonna say, come on a little closer.
Yes, indeed.
The swap out. Oh, Lord.
It actually screws on.
Not a screw.
You have to twist it. You have to twist it. And there's all kinds of heel kits. Like they had like snake skin and like all. I was intrigued. I had never. Now I wouldn't trust my fluffiness on a detachable heel. But hey, go for it. If that's your thing, go for it.
Oh, there's so much to explore with that we just don't have time for. We just don't have time. Oh my. Okay. All right. Get myself together on that one. Passion, not passion, but passion.
Right.
Oh, okay. Anywho. So let's jump right into this. All right, so let's start here. The first thing I think of is, honestly, I think of a different world, right? Mm-hmm. So during that time, when the Different World first came on, everybody's excited. It's a spinoff of the Cosby Show. Cosby Show was huge. Everybody loves it. But then there's this fantastic spinoff, A Different World, that's focused on, even though it's not a real HBCU, it's focused on an HBCU, right? And the whole HBCU experience and the campus life and all this kind of stuff. So it's really exciting. And from what I understand, since then, numbers went up in terms of enrollment in HBCUs and college in general for Black students, which was great. So this is during a time when it's being emphasized. It already had been emphasized really before that the choice, the thing to do was to get out of high school and go to college. That was it. There was nothing else for, especially I think for Black people. That's what you do. You go to college. Nobody's talking about opening a business. Nobody's talking about going to Europe and find yourself for a year with your white counterparts. It's you go to college. And I think to me, it was understandable during that time because that really was the path. If you were able to, go to college and get yourself a degree, you were going to 9 times out of 10 have a better chance of getting a good, steady job. But I think that's not necessarily the case now. But before we get into that, what do you think about that?
Well, I want to take it a little further back before Different World, because what I think about is like, the 60s and the 70s, for the majority of Black people, higher education, it just was not an option. It wasn't feasible. But what was available were the trade programs that were in high schools. True. And so there were a lot of Black people who were able to make it to middle class through those avenues. And then as those programs started to be removed, in particular from urban schools, it left a void there. And so, then you get into the 80s and there's this big push for higher education. And, basically that becomes the route to being in the middle class for the generations that didn't, before they took after they took the trades out of the school, there was a void for all, that next generation, and higher education was the only avenue really for to make it to the middle class. And so at one point having an associate's degree would get you somewhere. That meant that you could get a little bit more pay because you had that. And then that kind of became obsolete and everybody needed to have a bachelor's, And so now we're at the point where the bachelor's doesn't even really mean anything. Now you have to have a master's. And so it's like the rules keep changing on what it is that you have to do in order to be successful. And I find it interesting that, those trade programs that were in high school, that was an opportunity for African Americans to get a leg up. Yeah. And so, of course, that had to be neutralized. And so then we started learning about how to get different loans and grants and scholarships and things like that to be able to get higher education. And now the rules have changed for that because, in particular, I think African American women was the highest demographic of new enrollment for higher learning for like the last several years. And so, of course, the rules are going to change now. The bar is going to be different because we found a way to break into that. So there you go, and there you have it.
But side note, what's interesting is that statistic needs to be looked at further. That I want to say that maybe Kevin Samuels pointed out, I'm not sure, that Black women have the highest enrollment, but they don't say anything about finishing.
Well, that's very true. Either way, whether they finish or not, most of the time, if you have a degree, you're not operating in that field anyway. So you just end up with debt. You end up with debt and a degree, or not having a degree that you're probably not going to use anyway because you're going to be in something completely different.
Yeah. But what's interesting is that, I found in my own experience is that you have jobs that you apply for that do or don't have to do with your field, but it's like they're hiring you because you have a degree, not because you have a specific degree, which I just find that interesting. It's like, okay, so my degree has nothing to do with the job I'm applying for, but I need to have a degree to have this, I don't know. I don't know where that all came from. I really, I mean, I have an idea of the philosophy behind it, someone who's gone through to get a 4-year degree has discipline. They have general knowledge that they've gained in their courses. You have to have some sort of organization, some reasoning skills, da 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 da. So I kind of get that, but it seems it can be a little frustrating for someone who's like, I'm going to college. I've taken the time to figure out what it is I want to do. I've chosen my, what I want to study. Now I can't find a job doing that exactly.
Yep.
Which I know has been the case for so many people. And I know for me, I went through the whole thing just to be told, I believe in my junior year, that, well, you really need to get your master's degree to really be able to work in this field.
Mm-hmm.
Well, why in my junior year am I being told this? Because I did not plan to go to graduate school, right? At least not right away. And I didn't go to graduate school, but it was just like, I've been having these meetings with counselors on a regular basis, to talk about what classes I need to take next and this, that, and the other. But then in junior year is the first time I'm hearing this.
Yeah.
And it was like, I don't know, it took the air, out of my balloon, really, because it's like, I majored in psychology and I really want to dive into that. But they're like, get your master's degree. You're really not going to be able to do anything with this.
Yeah.
Very so true. There are all those different things, but I digress a little bit. Okay, I'm getting ahead of myself a little bit.
Well, one of the things that I thought about when you were talking about, people just hiring based off of you having a degree, not necessarily being related to it. I thought about like credit, the credit worthiness. You know what I mean? It's kind of like that same ideology in a way. You're deemed suitable because you've gone to this 4-year school and you've gotten a degree. In the same way with credit worthiness, you're deemed suitable to get approved for certain things. Really doesn't have anything to do with whether you operate in honor and integrity. You know what I mean? So you could have poor credit from a horrible situation. Right. It could be, you could have a medical situation that totally destroys your credit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Or I'm sure just like a lot of people through this whole COVID situation, people losing their jobs, they may have had fantastic credit before then and now their credit is shot. There can be just one life event that throws everything off, and that changes the so-called worthiness.
Yeah.
And so people are getting in extreme debt to be deemed worthy to work at a job that's not in their educational field, basically.
Yeah. And then you have to hurry up and get a job because you have to pay for the education that you was getting to be able to get a good job.
Exactly.
And then you're pretty much caught in that circle, to be fair, for the rest of your life, for most people. Unless you have some big windfall or whatever, unless you just, I think there are a few people, honestly, that end up being able to pay off their student debt. I mean, I do know one person, he did, but that was, shoot, he and I were in college. I'm not going to age myself. Many years ago. This is, produced a full person at this point and still paying student loans. But yeah, so I think, again, there was a time when say, go to college and get your degree and you'll get a better job. And I think that was true. But I think that window of time has kind of passed, at least for us as Black folks. That window of time has really passed. And that's just not the case anymore. Because especially, I don't think anyone thought about, well, if you tell this whole generation that the thing to do is everybody go to college, everybody, choose which field you want to go to, get your degree, and then everybody go out there to get a job. everybody is not going to get a job in their
Right.
field. So it had to come to a bottleneck at some
Right.
point where it's like, this isn't going to work in mass. You know, it was, I think, a little more, it has to even out. Some people have to focus on a trade. Some people focus on, you know, the business side. Some people focus on, you know, entrepreneurship. You know, that way everybody has somewhere to go. But if you're telling everybody this is the only way, it's
Yeah.
not going to work out for everyone. And I think we've you know, gotten to that place, not just because of that, but because times have just changed. You know, in terms
Yeah.
of technology, times have just changed drastically, and it's not practical anymore. It's not applicable anymore for
Yeah.
you to just go out and go into the business world, you know, well, to get you a degree, go into the business world, get you a 9 to 5 and move up the ladder. That's just not how things are really working
Yeah.
anymore. Um, and honestly, I'm really glad that what I did is I went out and got a trade. But for me, what happened was I went to college for like a year and a half, figured out it just wasn't for me to go straight from high school to college. Just wasn't for me. Right. So I left after a year and a half and I worked for, I think, about 5 years and took my 401k from my job, paid for like a whole year of school, didn't have to work. Somewhere in there, I don't remember, I got my license as a nail technician and I worked and provided for myself that way. And then after that, I think I got more student loans to help out with the rest. But I'm glad I got a trade because as long as you keep that up, you have that to fall back on. And that's what I did. That's how I was able to support myself and pay my bills through school. And I believe after I graduated, I did that some too, you know, but that's something I always have. So it's like, even if you have a degree, I feel like everybody should find some sort of trade, some sort of skill to have. You know, because in times like now, when you're unemployed, you know, your job shuts down or whatever, you can fall back on that skill or trade.
Yeah.
In some way, shape, or form.
I agree.
Yeah.
100%. There was no way for our generation to prepare or predict for the explosion that technology has had
Yeah.
in the last 20 years. I mean,
Yeah.
when we were in school, we were playing Oregon Trail on the computer, you know, and so to go from that
Mm-hmm.
to this, you
Yeah.
know, it's a big deal.
It
And
is.
so a lot of kids who were going to college kind of at that um, you know, before the explosion happened, you know, it's a whole new world.
Mm-hmm.
And so the things that they studied may not even necessarily be marketable
Yeah.
at this point because technology has kind of taken over some of the positions that warm bodies held,
Right.
you know. And so that's a huge that's a huge factor.
Yeah.
um, you know, the internet is seems like that's the way
Mm-hmm.
now, you know, to really what, and when I say internet, I don't mean necessarily like being an Instagram booty photo girl. I'm just talking about I'm talking
A
about
whole nother
any
show.
I'm talking about like whether it's Amazon or whether it's, you know, things like Google or, you know, apps,
Mm-hmm.
you know, that whole world is just that's the way to go right
It
now.
is the way, and it, you know, it's just, it opens so many doors. You know, there are people that have full use the internet to fully and completely start a business, run a business, promote a business, you know, from front to back, and never have to, you know, use a building, never have to leave home or anything. They have a business like up, running, and popping completely online. And that's
Yeah.
huge.
Yeah.
That is
Yeah.
so they didn't have to go to school for it. or they may have, maybe depending on what it is, took a class online. But then if you really look, there are a lot of classes that you can take and gain a lot of skills for free online. If you really do your digging, I have found them, and it's amazing. It's absolutely amazing if you really look and find. But again, that's the power of being online and the internet. So sure. It's true. It's a whole, it's a whole different thing now. So I know that, of course, people are still in still good numbers going to college. So I don't know. I'm thinking of like why people would still go to college. Of course, there are certain careers that you want to go into that you have to go to college. Right. Engineer, doctor, teacher, different things like that. And for some people, I'm not going to take away, especially when I say college and university. I guess I'm more talking about the traditional experience in terms of a 4-year university and staying on campus. That was the experience I had. I know not everybody had that experience. Some people did community college. And some people, like broke it up or whatever. So I've stayed on campus, and then when I went back, I, had my own housing, whatever. But the traditional experience, it's a time of course, of you finding yourself. You're meeting different people from different places that you may not have been able to do before. For larger universities, a lot of times you meet people from different parts of the world. So you have these different experiences. You're finding yourself, you're, kind of exploring and learning how to be on your own, and all these different responsibilities, signing up for classes, making sure about your credits, managing your own money, making sure you get yourself to class and paying the consequences for not going to class, all of these different things. And so all of that's great. But the question is it worth, at the end of the day, for a lot of people, $100,000 tab after 4 years?
Right.
And the possibility of a job.
Right.
Because for some schools, I don't mean no harm, that raggedy job fair that they have for all these companies where you don't want to work.
Right.
I mean, they'll hire you. They'll hire you because they're like, we at the college, we know you're getting a degree. We'll hire you. But it's like, do I really want to work as a salesperson at Verizon?
Right.
Not to knock it, but after I've paid all this money and done all of this, why are you here? Why are these, so I remember that, and I'm looking at all these different companies with my, potential psychology degree, and it's like, what I'm gonna do there? Yeah. So it's all of that really to consider. Now, on the flip side, if you can just afford to go and you're not worried about the money, I think college is a great experience for you to get into. If money is not an issue for you, but if, like the other 99% of us, it is, it's something to consider. I mean, I don't know. It's something to really consider, because again, I think most people, many, many years, at 10 at least, and I'm being nice when I say that, 10 years after you've graduated, you're still paying those bills. You're still paying those student loans. And that has a lot to do with how student loans are set up, which is a whole other issue of how they charge interest. Yes. For those student loans, because it's ridiculous that if you've been paying all of that time, that you still owe the same amount. Yeah. Or more. Yeah. That you took out. I mean, it makes me cringe when I look at my student loan bills, but
I understand. And don't get it deferred. Lord have mercy. If you get a forbearance, it's like I just need a little reprieve for a little while.
It's okay.
You are paying the price.
You are.
you get a 6 to 12 month extension to make a payment, but then you've added another 8 years, 8 years of paying to your loan.
But you don't get 8 years added on to your life. You do not. You do not. So that being said, I hope people that have been able to during this pandemic, where they've what do you call it? They've stopped requiring us to pay student loans, and the interest rate has dropped to 0%. For all this time, I hope anyone who's has been able to has continued to pay, because this is the only time you're going to see your principal balance go down when you're paying. And it's been a great feeling that will be over soon, but I've been able to do that, and it's like, oh my gosh, it's actually going down. It's not staying the same as if I did not make a payment last month. Hello.
Yeah. Is it? I think it's January. Is it January?
It's January. It was supposed to be originally, it was September, I believe, and then they moved it to January. So hallelujah.
Yeah.
On that one.
Yeah. So for those who, which, because the irony of it is just ridiculous to me, that the whole reason that they stopped requiring payment and they stopped adding interest is because so many people have lost their jobs or are in these situations, and it makes it even more difficult for them to pay. So in turn, they can't make a payment to to kind of like capitalize on the fact that there's no interest, right? And so they get back, once they get back on their feet, that's when the interest is going to start all over again. And so that break really doesn't mean anything in terms of paying down the balance.
Oh no. Oh no, we're not trying to help you. We're not trying to help you pay down the balance. No, that's just something that if you are lucky enough to be in a position, where you didn't lose your job or income hasn't changed in your household, you can do that. That's just, but they know ain't gonna be a whole lot of folks that can do. They ain't trying to help you pay down no balance. They just saying, look, it's gonna work out for both of us. We don't have to get people on the phone to call you and harass you about money you don't have to pay us. Right. And then you ain't got to get harassed for a little while.
Exactly. It's so crazy. And the welfare system, at least the way that I've known it to be, it's kind of the same thing. Like you can't really get in a position to get out of the system, because as soon as you make more money, they cut back on whatever assistance that they're giving you. So you're stuck. You either have to struggle, find a job or find some source of income that puts you in a better position, but you basically have to scramble through that because they're going to take away whatever benefits that they've given you. Yeah.
The system isn't set up to help you get out. It isn't set up to aid you and guide you to being on your own and being self-sufficient. It's not set up for that at all. And it is totally ridiculous. But then there's a focus on people who quote unquote just live on assistance. Well, you're not giving them a lot of choice.
Right.
You're really not giving them a lot, and y'all know it, because there have been too many years for the system to be the way it is, and people to make these observations and you not change it.
Yeah.
So
I mean, there are people who legitimately need the assistance, and they should be able to have that assistance. You know what I mean? And so I think that I don't think that it's productive to paint everybody with this, broad stroke, which I think is done a lot. You know what I mean? Like there's shame imposed upon people who, receive assistance. And you might be legitimately in a situation that requires help. Here's where it's problematic for me, and some people might get mad, but I don't care. My thing is, I have an issue with my tax dollars assisting you in your living. If you have the newest iPhone, if you have designer clothes, you have designer bags, and that's not to say that if you are in an unfortunate situation that you shouldn't be able to have nice things. But if you're paying for those things, then the money that you're using to pay for those things can go towards you supporting yourself.
Exactly.
And so if I had to crawl through the trenches to make it to where I am, just like everybody else. And while I was in the trenches, I didn't have name brand bags and stuff like that. I was going to, the cheap little stores, Dots and Raves,
That's girl.
or getting the little $10 and $12 dresses and shirts and all of this kind of stuff. Even went to the Goodwill. To buy dresses for work and all of this kind of stuff. And so, that's not to say that everybody should do things the way that I do things. I just think that it's a matter of principle that, if you have the income to be able to purchase these things yourself, and hair done every week, nails done every week, all of those types of things, it it's it's maddening to me.
Yeah, it is, because you've
Yeah.
decided that this is going to be your life, because it's when you get into that frame of mind of, well, I can go and get my hair and my nails done and buy these new Jordans and this Louis Vuitton bag because the government is paying for my rent.
Right.
When it should be, well, I have this extra $200-$300. Let me set that aside for when I'm in the position to start paying my own rent.
Right. Yep.
And so it's that switch. For some people, they have that frame of mind of, let me put this money away. I finally got me a good job, where it's like, I'm not making but so much because they're going to cut off my assistance. It's like when you learn, I hate to say it, but when you learn the game, of the system of, okay, I need to make this much, but I can't make this much because then they're just going to pull the rug from under me. So I finally got this job where I'm making an amount of money that everybody's satisfied with. Let me start putting this money up. Let me start putting this money away and make plans, until I get up out of here, and work towards getting up out of here. And some people just hunker down in it. Hey, the government's paying my rent. I'm getting, this EBT. I can go get my hair done, my nails done. And it's like, no, you've decided now that this is the life that you're going to live. And there's a difference. There's a big difference between the two. So yeah, I agree. I agree. But we digress a little bit.
As always.
As always. I mean, I would think y'all be waiting for it at this point.
Exactly.
So yeah. So I think we've kind of covered. Well, one other thing I did think of about college life is, one positive is dealing with the professors. It'll prepare you, I think, for when you get out into the working world. Because I've met some interesting professors. I really have, where it's like some are just really tough, some can be a little bit unreasonable, and some just, it's like, this is real life. This is reality. You can't come to me like you did in high school and give me a sob story about why you weren't able to do this and you need a little bit more time for this and you overslept and blah, 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 blah. And others will be a little more lenient. So you learn a little bit more about how the real world works in terms of, these are your responsibilities. It's the time that you have to do it. You learn about the advantages of sitting in the front of the class and speaking to the professor, so the professor knows your name. In the real world at work, hey, make sure the boss knows who you are in the middle of an office that has 100 people. That works to your advantage. And some people will call that, brown nose, and you can call it what you want to. But it can work to your advantage when it comes down to, I'm looking for someone to move up. This person, Lisa has shown initiative. I know Lisa, I see her all the time. She speaks, she says hello, we talk, whatever else. She's always on time. She's always prepared, blah, 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 blah. You learn that. I learned that in college. It is a huge advantage when your professor knows who you are, because when they don't see you, or when you're late, when you usually aren't late, they say, hey, they'll email you, hey, didn't see you in class today. Is everything all good? Or you can email them, hey, I got a heavy load. I just need maybe an extra day on your paper. Cool, no problem. That's the difference between, hey, professor, I need a little more time. I'm sorry, who are you?
Right.
So
Right.
you can learn all those different things. You learn how to take professors that are just mean and grouchy. I don't know why college professors a lot of times are just so mean and grouchy. I had a professor we referred to as Papa Smurf. He had the gray beard. He was just mean. I don't know, like, why are you so angry, sir? But I don't know. But you learn how to deal in all those situations too. Before of course, before you have to enter into the work world. So it's almost like college is a buffer between being that um, very young adult and being the adult where it's all on you. It's
Yes.
it's all for you to handle. So it's almost like that buffer in that time of learning and really finding yourself and finding your footing. And it's usually a time where your parents are still helping you out and supporting you, if we're thinking about it traditionally. And so you have that time to kind of, figure it out before you're completely kind of out there on your own.
Yeah.
So yeah.
It's kind of like a standardized um, life skills course, so to
Right.
speak, because not every child is taught life skills,
Yeah.
you know. And so that kind of gives everybody an understanding of like you said, how to operate in the workforce, how
Mm-hmm.
to function as an adult, how to manage time,
Mm-hmm.
be self-sufficient, self-sustaining, all of those things. Yeah.
Yeah. But they still, unless I just missed the class, they still don't teach you about, investing money, managing money, paying bills and all of that as just a regular everyday person. I'm not talking about taking courses in business and business management specifically, but there are,
Yeah.
like, you would think by college there would be some general ed classes that everyone's required to take, that in
Yeah.
terms of money management. No, there is not.
Yeah.
Which, yeah.
Yeah. I think that's something that should be a part of, if nothing else, it should be a part of high school to
Yeah.
me. Um, but I can remember, because I'm gonna go off on a tangent real quick. I can remember, it was for sixth grade. Um, we had like a so-called checking account,
Mhm.
and so as we did good things or whatever, we kind of like built up, we accumulated a balance or whatever that we could use for free time or whatever. We had to actually write out a check. So that was my first exposure to like the whole concept of a checking account. And that was in
Mhm.
sixth grade. And it was so meaningful to me having that and learning that when I did homeschool my kids, I used that same kind of system where
Mhm.
they could earn points to use towards, like, we could take a field trip, we could do whatever, but I think that whole concept of saving versus spending,
Mhm.
having an understanding of what you actually have,
Mhm.
all of those things are so important. Like how we they finish high school, we throw them into college,
Mhm.
and they basically have, for the most part, independence. A lot of them end up with kickbacks from student loans, so they have thousands of dollars on hand. They have no concept or concern about having to pay that money back.
Right.
It's like all of a sudden I have thousands of dollars in my hand. That's never happened before.
Mhm.
So let me go out here and make it rain.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
by that, all of that money usually is gone before the next cycle comes around for them to get the next installment of money.
Yeah.
And
It's
so
true.
then they're scrambling You know what I mean? Not to mention, as soon as you go on the college campus, every possible credit card company is
Yeah.
there to sign you up for a credit card. Most of you have not had any type of credit counseling, debt counseling, nothing like that. And so, hey, free money, let me go ahead and sign up. So, not only are you going into debt with the school loans, but now you have all of these credit cards.
Yeah. Because they know you don't have a job.
Right.
They know you don't have a job.
It's wild.
It's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
It's wild and crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you're exactly right. So yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot. So the flip side of this is going to trade school or just taking general classes according to what type of business you want to go into or business you want to open. Because to me, that's the other option. Because you don't necessarily have to go to full-fledged college and sign up for the whole thing. You can say, okay, I need to take these specific classes to get information and knowledge about this specific business that I want to go into, right? You can go to a community college to do this, or technical school, or whatever it is. So, that's the other option. And again, going into your own business instead of trying to find a job working for someone else, you could maybe open a business yourself. And
Yeah.
the thing is, you go and try to apply at this business and they require you to have a bachelor's degree, but the person that owns the business ain't got one.
There you go.
So, you know, so that's something to really think about. And so then you're spending less money because you're only paying for the classes that you need. Go
Right.
figure. Or you're only paying for whatever trade school you want to go into. And then of course you have to pay for business license, this, that, and the third, which is a small fraction of paying for a 4-year university or even a 2-year university.
Yeah, I
So
agree. I mean, you could easily be an electrician, a plumber, a welder, and make 80,000, $100,000 a year easily. A
yep.
carpenter, a painter, not like Picasso painter, but commercial painter.
Yeah.
I mean, there are so many different things that are out here, like the run of the mill type things, like what I just said, or thinking outside of the box and providing some kind of service, that interests you. Because
Mhm.
I think when you pursue your interests, the money will come because there's a level of passion behind
Mhm.
what it is that you're doing.
Yeah,
If you
absolutely.
chase money, you're always going to be chasing money. But if you chase your passion, then you'll be fulfilled and the money will come.
Absolutely. I totally agree. And especially in the time we're in, we were talking earlier about, the access that the internet gives you. I mean, you could just name a million. Etsy alone is like probably heaven for people who are very creative. It's probably a place that they've always been waiting for, where they can just create things they love to create and go online and sell them, because there are people all over the world that are interested in the very things that those people are making. They just didn't have a way of finding each other before.
Right. Yeah.
So it's perfect now. I mean, people have all kinds of businesses, where they're making and selling clothing, jewelry, uh, paintings like Picasso, all of just creative things, providing services, life coach, business management, finance management. I mean, we see it all everywhere. I'm still a Facebook person because people say I'm old, whatever. I'm still mostly on Facebook. I don't really deal with Twitter and Instagram. But on Facebook, all the time, you're seeing all these different businesses, that have something posted for some different, service. And these businesses are booming, so I think it's a perfect time, honestly, for any young person who's trying to figure out what they want to do next. If they want to go to college, if they want to go into a business, I think this is the perfect time for them to explore working for yourself. It's that has its pros and cons, of course, because you can't just punch a clock and know on Friday you're getting a check.
Right.
So that's an advantage of having a 9 to 5. It's on you to get this money. Right. But the flip side of that is it's on you to get this money versus I hope they give me my check on Friday.
Right. Right.
So it can kind of go both ways. It's a matter of, do you want to bet on you or do you want to bet on someone else?
Right. And I mean, well, some people don't have the skill set or the hunger for entrepreneurship.
True.
Because that takes a certain mindset. It takes a certain, or level of organizational skills. I have a special set of skills. It takes a lot to be an entrepreneur. And for some people, they like the predictability of going in and clocking, and that I should say maybe the security.
Yeah.
But whether it's real or imagined, of having that check come to them. So different strokes for different folks. True. But I will say this, that it's very important that you have more than one stream of income.
Absolutely.
And if you didn't learn that pre-COVID, I certainly hope that you learned it. You've learned it since then, because businesses have been just dropping like flies. And it's really easy to get comfortable in thinking, oh, this company will be here, I can work there until X amount of time and all of this. But once again, COVID has taught us many lessons about just that way of thinking.
Absolutely. And I'm just going to put my 2 cents in here. I'm not recommending any particular business, but if anyone who has not already and wants something really easy to do for a really easy investment, visit Coinbase.com and Robinhood.com. Pick one of those businesses to put you a few coins into and act like it's not there. Come back in a few months and see how much your money has grown. It's the easiest investment that you could possibly make. If you got $5, you can do that and watch it grow. Like,
I got 5 on it.
Look, I'm just saying, that's all you got. I mean, they honestly make it so easy, and we're not getting an endorsement for it, but I'm saying this because it's true. Especially in a time like this, where it's like, for some people, all they need is $20 to get this little bit of food this week, kind of thing. That can be your little stash, quite honestly. And there's nothing that you have to do. Of course, it's going to go up and down, absolutely. But I think it's worked out for a lot of people that I've talked to. It's like you forget about it. Next thing, oh, let me go and check here. It's like, oh my God, I got $50. I got $70. I know some people that have put in like $200, and when they checked again, it was $700. It's just, I'm just putting it out there. Because I know people are always looking for little things that they can do to just get like a little bit of money, here and there, something they can do. And that's just, little side note, little something still. So
thank you for that.
Yeah, of course. So I'm trying to think what else. Well, a downside to, being an entrepreneur on your business, of course, is the overhead. You have the overhead, you're responsible for keeping up licenses and, knowing what the city, county, state, federal rules, laws, regulations are, for your business. If you have employees, you got to pay them, do you have to pay them benefits? How are you going to pay for your own health insurance?
Yeah.
It is a lot that goes along with it. And it depends on what your business is and how complicated and intricate it is. Or if it's something as simple as you're creating a product and you're selling it on Amazon or selling it on Etsy. But the point is, the options are out there like never before. Like never before the options are out there. It's not a time, we're not in a time anymore where it's like you just go to college and that's what it is. And again, I think, like I said before, I think even for people who decide, hey, I do want to go to college and I do want to get a 9 to 5. And like you said, you need to have more than one stream of income. So you need to have something else going on. And I don't mean necessarily get a day job and a night job.
Right.
I mean, have some other job that you do on your own in addition, to your 9 to 5.
Yeah, a side hustle.
Yeah, a side hustle, and invest in yourself in some way, shape or form.
Yeah.
So.
We all have natural talents and gifts, and all of those talents and gifts can be marketed.
Mm-hmm.
We just have to figure out how to market those specific talents and gifts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So yeah, so as always, we hope that you all will give us some feedback, give us your thoughts, your ideas on what we had to say about, college and the debt that comes with it versus, trade school and entrepreneurship. Maybe even share your experiences. Give a shout out to Tracy Lee. Tracy Lee is always coming through. She's always, like jumping on and commenting. We appreciate you, girl. We appreciate you so much. And we appreciate everyone who listens, who shares, so like, comment, share, subscribe, do all those things. And we do really want to hear your feedback. Again, this is for all of us, for the culture, for us to just kind of have a conversation, get new ideas, get new information, on anything that affects us as a community, as a people, as a village. So anything else you wanted to add, Madam Buddaphlai?
Just make sure that you're making decisions based upon what it is that you want. The so-called American dream was given to us. And so we have to decide what our dream is. And for each person, that's an individual thing. And so follow what your dream is, not what any person or society or group says that you should follow. And everything will be all right.
That is very good advice. I agree. All right, y'all. So thank you once again. As always, we want to thank NERDSoul for allowing us to be on this platform. You can check him out and all of his content on ThatNERDSoul on YouTube, and check out his merchandise on ThatNERDSoul.com. So until next time, bye, y'all.
Peace, love, and light, everybody.